Yes.
There we go. I know suddenly no one talks, right? Because suddenly we're on the record, right?
Careful what you say now.
Yeah. It's just that this is the end of the semester, and people say, oh well, I wasn't able to make it. Did you record? And it's important for students who aren't able to make it. This way also, Sofia, when we're hearing about what's going on in Honduras, we can people really, they care and they want to know. Perfect.
Your Instagram too. But it's funny, another day I was in a meeting which was about the search for the new provost. And they said at the beginning of the meeting, this meeting is not being recorded on purpose, so you guys can feel free to say whatever you want. And you know what happened afterwards? The ticker did a story about it. Quoting everybody that was in the meeting, myself included. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think they knew anybody from the ticker was attending.
Oh my
well,
God.
I guess there was somebody there, and it is kind of a,
I sent a note to the leader of the meeting saying, so because he went, I think he was trying to be very careful, making sure people could be candid and.
Right. Oh gosh.
Journalists are sneaky.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's but you're supposed to get the story, right?
Exactly. Whatever it
takes. Hi, Elena.
Hi, Elena. So good to see you.
Hi, I just got off a 3-hour Zoom, so I might turn my camera off at some point.
Oh my God.
But I'm really, really excited about this conversation as somebody who's, interested in the environment in Latin America.
Great.
So yeah, thank you for organizing it.
Thanks for being here. I like your plants.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
You have to these days,
I know, I love plants. I have plants all over. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh, really nice. We'll wait another couple of minutes for people are starting to come in. I see my former student, Angela Salvaggio, coming to us from Italy.
Oh,
great to see you, Angela. Hello, Angela.
Oh,
thank you so much
Hi.
for joining us.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your invitation. Really, I'm so appreciated. So now here in Italy, it's night.
It's
So
late, right?
You can kind of tell,
it is 11 p.m., but it's not a problem. I want to perceive it. Yeah.
Thank you so
How
much.
are you? I hope everything is okay there.
Yeah. Well, in New York, we're okay. Well,
Yeah,
as okay goes, right there. The governor was talking about closing in-person dining. I'm not sure if anyone saw his press conference or heard about it
today.
But yeah, it said it could start as early in indoor dining. It's not outdoor, but indoor as early as Monday. I mean, they're talking about making it so because of the instead of looking at the number of positive tests, it's rather the hospitalization, like the saturation of hospitals, and so he's looking at a different metric. But other than that, it is what it is. New York has tons of outdoor dining, which of course, being from Italy, you know about outdoor dining, and my family from Spain, outdoor dining is a thing in Madrid, but it was not really a thing in New York until now. And now Amsterdam Avenue, Columbus Avenue, there are these, outdoor dining rooms that are outside on the, not on the sidewalk, in the street. It's really something. So that's a new thing. Well, it's about 5 after 5. I think we should start and begin this conversation. I'm Professor Steph, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Professor Stephanie Golub. I am I'm Associate Professor in the Political Science Department, and I'm also the Director of ISLA, which is Baruch's new initiative for the study of Latin America. And it's really my pleasure to be here this evening with you for this very important conversation entitled Hurricane Update from Honduras. We have 2 guests with us this evening who are going to be discussing these issues. We know that in the month of November, there were 2 hurricanes, Eta and Iota, which hit Central America. And these were 2 hurricanes in quick succession. The devastation that they left in their wake also drew renewed attention to the intersecting crises hitting the region: climate change, COVID-19, the ongoing epidemic of violence and economic hardship behind massive migration flows, and the humanitarian crisis that we've been seeing. All of these things are all connected in terms of how important the things are for us here to understand what's going on in our neighbors in the Americas. And so I am very excited to welcome here today to my colleague, Gisele Regatao. She's Assistant Professor of Journalism and the Writing Professions at Baruch. And she is not only a Baruch faculty member, she's a Baruch alumna. She's a proud graduate of our master's program in business journalism. Professor Regatao is a multimedia journalist who's reported and edited stories for podcasts, radio, online and print publications in New York and Sao Paulo, Los Angeles, Mumbai, Mexico City, and beyond. She has also done distinguished work in public radio, including 10 years at my favorite WNYC. And in addition, and she is originally from Brazil. And we are very thrilled to have her here with us this evening in conversation with Sofia Barahona Fugon. Sofia is a business communications major at Baruch College with a double minor in journalism and Latin American and Caribbean studies. Sofia is a senior and she's expecting to graduate in spring of 21 from the proud class of 2021. And we're very proud of the hard work that everyone's been doing under these less than ideal conditions. Yes, thank you. I definitely applause are in order for that and for our graduates. Yes. So without further ado, we're going to start with the conversation. Professor Regatao is going to talk with Sofia about what's going on in Honduras. She's there. We heard the airport is closed, so she isn't going anywhere right now. We will have that conversation going on until about 5:40 when we will open into a Q&A. But if you have comments, please put them into the chat. We have the chat will be going on. Daniela Toribio, our coordinator of student affairs here at ISLA, who has also, I'd like to thank her for all of her help in organizing this event, will be monitoring the chat. So if you have comments, you can put them in the chat and we will be opening up the floor around 5:40. So without further ado, thanks for our guests for their time, and thanks to all of you for coming and joining us today. Professor Regatao.
Thank you so much. Please call me Gisele.
Gisele.
I don't make my students call me Gisele. No, Professor Regatao. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you, Stephanie. We met about a year ago, right? Just before ISLA started. I'm so happy that ISLA exists, you know, a place that is studying Latin America inside Baruch and doing events like this. And I'm very happy that Stephanie is at the leadership, especially because she's thinking about events like this that are very much student-centered, which I think is so great. So, you know, I was telling her about Sofia's experience in Honduras, and she's like, let's do an event. And here we are. So thanks so much, Stephanie, for inviting me to talk to Sofia, and Daniela for making it all happen. So actually, I have a lot of questions for Sofia, but I would like this to be a little bit more informal, if that's okay, Stephanie. So I feel like everybody can ask a question. You know, it's just a few of us. I don't want to be like the moderator and your guys are watching.
Sure.
Just jump in and ask questions at any time. So I just want to kind of tell the story of, so Sofia is actually based in New York. And in the middle of the semester, was late October, she told me, so she's taking one of my classes, and she told me she was going to Honduras, but it was because of a family issue. If I remember right, Sofia is a family member who was sick. So what I want to ask you is, did you know then that a hurricane was coming? And what was the preparation in Honduras when you arrived?
So definitely had no idea. No idea at all. Like, I wish I did know about it, but no, like I got to Honduras because one of my uncles was very, very sick and sadly he passed. So that was the reason.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was the reason why I flew all the way here. And just 3 days of being here, like on the news, they start saying like, oh, there's a hurricane forming. It's supposed to hit Nicaragua and Honduras, but it wasn't strong yet. And so I didn't worry that much because I was like, oh, you know, we always get storms. Like, it's fine, I guess. Like, it's gonna be okay. But then they start saying like, oh, it's getting to category 3, and then oh, it's category 4, and it's like the rains they start way earlier than I think like 4 or 5 days before the hurricane hit the ground. Like the rains were already like crazy, and then it didn't even hit Honduras, it hit Nicaragua, but we get like Honduras gets most of the rain. Like Nicaragua gets impacted first, but Honduras gets like all of the rain, and it's raining for days. Nonstop, and I've never seen anything like it. Like never, like I've been through like a lot of like rain here growing up, but I've never seen anything like it. I never seen my city like get like that much water, like flooded, like houses completely flooded, people literally like on boats like getting out of their houses. So it was I don't know, I'm just lucky, I guess, because like my house didn't get to that situation. I actually had like people coming over to my house because it's on a high place, so we didn't get water. So we were like, oh, people were asking me like, hey, can I stay over at your place because like, you know, my house is flooded. And I was just like, yeah, okay, because like it's just me right now in my house. So yeah, I was like hosting like my friends and family members, and we were all talking, you know, like it's crazy because like none of us expected something like this to happen. And then we were thinking about the people on the shelters, like, or people, you know, who like me were hosting others, because on top of like, you know, the situation, we also have COVID, right? And we also have like our family members to worry about. So it was hard because like some people were not like on the shelters, you know, we had COVID cases as well, and they were like overflowing with people. Even like those who wanted like to go and deliver help, they were like kind of like effy because like, oh, you know, there's cases. Or the people who were at the shelters, like they were being kicked out as well. So it was this whole situation of the intersection of like this homelessness and then also having this pandemic on top of it. So definitely didn't expect any of this to happen. And I mean, in a way, I'm kind of like glad because of the work that I'm doing here, that I'm here, because thankfully, you know, we've gotten a lot of support, like my friends in New York and everyone who knows that I'm here. They're like, hey, how can we help? Like, can you redirect us to like a way to like support? So in that sense, I'm just kind of like, that's the only reason why I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I'm here, because like in a way, you know, I'm being like a pipeline and like delivering this help, because like the government, you know, it's hard. Like it's even like international help, it's hard, like we're not getting that much because like we have a pandemic, right? So like people are worrying like sending all their funding to coronavirus, which it's important as well, but because of that we're not getting that much. And also because Honduras has this like whole reputation of corruption and just international organizations,
like many places in Latin America.
Yeah, so it's been hard. Like even the people who are sending like donations right now, like the donations that I got, some donations, like some friends send boxes, and usually when it's donations, people wouldn't have to pay for things, but because if that's the case, then the government has to like inspect everything. But the distrust is so big that people prefer to pay the taxes as if they're selling the things, just so people don't touch, you know, the boxes and the things that come inside. So they make, you know, they ensure that those things are gonna go, you know, like untouched. So yeah, it's been a lot.
Oh my. Now, which city are you in? And you said you're by yourself in your house. So this is a family home that's normally where you stay? Tell us a little bit of where you are.
So I live in Tela, which is a northern city of Honduras. We're right in front of the Caribbean Sea. Mm-hmm. I live by myself right now because, well, my family, we all live in New York, but I grew up here, you know, so we still have our house here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we still have our house here. And we come, you know, usually like during winter break or like spring break or whatever, like I usually come to Honduras. So like I have the house here. So right now I'm by myself. My hometown, we are right by the ocean, so the winds were crazy. Like, and then we also have rivers in the major highway. So we were basically trapped as well because like the rivers were overflowing. So the bridges fell down. We had to like get food delivered through helicopters because like there was no access. I think right now there is to other major cities, but we didn't have access to other cities for like I think 3 weeks. And on top of that, the cellular connection has been really spotty. So that's been an issue as well, because like there's like a lot of people who have been like they disappear, but they just can't get in touch with them. Like family members still sometimes can't get in touch with them because cellular data has been really spotty, and then access to other towns, it's non-existent because of like the overflowing of rivers.
And you're doing Zoom classes on top of it.
Yeah, I managed.
She still joins the class.
I've been trying, like I don't know. Sometimes like it fails, but like right now it's good. I'm so glad it's good. But and now it's getting better like these days. But like at the beginning when it just happened, we didn't have like cellular data, like Wi-Fi, nothing at all for like 3 days. Like you couldn't get in contact with anyone. And like my family in New York, they were freaking out because then the other hurricane was coming, like Iota was coming, and they couldn't get in contact with me and I couldn't get in contact with anyone. It was, I think those were like the craziest days because like nobody could get in contact with anyone. And then, bridge just fell down. So it's not like you could go and like look for them.
Go anywhere. Oh my
God. So, but now it's working. It gets bad sometimes, but it's working.
Okay, good. Now, Hurricane Eta was pretty major, and I was reading was actually the largest, the most powerful hurricane to hit Honduras since Hurricane Mitch in 1998.
Correct.
That hurricane killed about 7,000 people, was really devastating. But what you're describing to me is that when you got there, is that you didn't know it was going to be this bad. Is it because you were not well informed or nobody was well informed? Or like, were the local authorities asking people to evacuate or to prepare their homes? Was there like an official preparation for it?
No, there wasn't. I think that was the biggest mistake. So right now in Honduras, usually in October we have. So what they do is like we have holidays, throughout the year. Like for example, in the US, there's Columbus Day and all these holidays. In Honduras, they decided that instead of having those holidays, sporadically throughout the year, they were gonna make a week where people just have off for an entire week, and they can travel throughout the country. And that usually happens in October. It didn't happen because of COVID and everything. They were like, oh, we're gonna move it, but they just moved it, like pushed it back to November. That was supposed to happen when Ira hit Honduras. So when they make when the hurricane is forming and it's on the news, we're waiting to like the government, like the newscast to say something about, oh, we're canceling the holidays or whatever, or like what's gonna happen. And they were like, no, it's not too bad. Like we're moving forward. And we were just like, everyone was just like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you moving forward with this? Because like they were like, yes, it's gonna happen. Like the party, because like it's party, it's just like parties, and like people go to the beach usually, and like to touristy places. But they had like the private companies kind of like pushing because they needed money. They've been closed for like all these months. A lot of the money in Honduras relies on tourism, and they were like pushing for it to happen. So they didn't tell people to evacuate. They were like, it's gonna happen, like it's gonna pass, and then you guys can go and like, go and feriado. It's called feriado morazanico. You can go and do go to feriado morazanico and enjoy. So they started to they canceled the thing. I think like 2 days before the storm hit. No, like we were already like having heavy rains, and we were still moving forward. And then everyone was like, no, we can do this. Like it's so irresponsible. And then the government finally canceled it, but it was too late already. So for the first storm, so many people got trapped because they didn't think it was gonna be that bad, because like they were not informing us like it was gonna be that bad. Like people were just thinking about like going to like vacation like the following week. So yeah, like nobody was prepared. For Hurricane Mitch, I mean, I was a baby, but like, everyone tells, I was born that year actually.
Oh, really?
So my parents, like they were telling me like, for Hurricane Mitch, we knew it was coming, and then we got people helping out, getting your things out of your house to get them to a safe place in preparation for the storm. For this one, that didn't happen like at all. People were just preparing to go on vacation, supposedly. So they all stayed inside, and then this happened. And then the areas that got impacted the most, that got flooded, were areas that didn't get flooded during Hurricane Mitch. Like the impact that we had, like we saw right now, it's completely different to like Hurricane Mitch was stronger, but for some reason the destruction of this one was, because of deforestation, all that. Like now the rivers, like they just overgrew and overflowed and destroyed cities that never before had been, in this situation.
I see. How interesting. Well, I hope the local officials are doing some soul searching to understand why they didn't understand how powerful this hurricane would be. But as you said, it's not only ETA, but then a couple of weeks later, there was Iota, which was also super powerful. So in the whole region, these are affected in Honduras, I understand, affected about 3 million people. Yeah. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are without a home. And of course, because of what you said earlier, because of COVID, things are even more difficult because people are in shelters where they can't isolate properly. So, I'm sure a lot of the repercussions are because people did not evacuate. There was no preparation about how to isolate people and everything else. So, but I understand you kind of, because maybe your house was spared, or maybe because of your personality and your values, you kind of jumped into this like rescue volunteer, or how would you describe it? So tell us a little bit about what have you been doing. And you were just showing us earlier, your living room is so tell me what you have been doing to try to help.
Yeah. So when it first started happening, when I first got the rains and everything, and I knew about people being on shelters, and like I started seeing, on the news what was going on other neighborhoods in other cities. I just couldn't stay, like doing nothing, because I know how Honduras, it has over 60% of the population living in poverty. Some of these people, have had these things for generations. Like it took generations for them to get to where they are. And I live in a country where the minimum wage is like $300 a month. Like for them to rebuild, like I don't know, I just like I start getting on my feelings, like I need to do something. So I started documenting everything that was going on Twitter, and showing, like how strong the rains were, how like the impact that it's had, like showing my neighbors like how, like the situation that we're going through. And these things started to go viral on Twitter. A lot of people started like retweeting and like messaging me like, hey, how can I help? Even my friends in New York, they knew that I was here, and they were like, is there any way, like, is there any organization that we can like look into that can help us out? And the problem was that there wasn't, like, there was no one organizing yet, like no one that I knew. I was just like, I don't know anyone. Like I wanted to redirect people to someone who was doing something, but like I didn't find anyone. So I became that person. And I set up, because I work with an organization here, but it's a different, like a completely different purpose. But we decided that we're gonna use, this platform that we have already to kind of like collect those donations for this reason, because this is a crisis. Like we never seen anything like this before. So, and this needs our attention like right now. So that's what we did. Like I started using that platform that I already had, collecting donations. People were dropping off things at my house, clothes, food. I'm gonna show you right now how it's crazy. Like my house, so this is how my living room looks right now. Before this call, we were packing like bags of like food, and then my friends in New York, they're like angels, and then they organized for me in New York City and like collected clothing donations. Like yesterday, we got 16 boxes full of clothes, like baby food, because here it's like crazy expensive. We got baby food, like canned goods, and yeah, just a whole bunch of things that are definitely gonna like help everyone here. So and then we also like said like, because with the people here, we talked to a lot of companies, like this is happening. It's like, do you want to like help us out doing something? We started like partnering with the Rotary International Club, with Club de Leones, the Lions Club in English, yeah, the Lions Club, with other organizations, and we form these caravans where we go and we get all these cars and like deliver this food to these places that it's been hard to get. We get boats as well. I've been on boats, and like it's been an adventure because like the access has been cut off to a lot of places, so it's been hard. But thankfully, we being able to deliver. We had like our cars had gotten stuck in the mud. I had to like swim through rivers, but we've we've been delivering food thankfully, and people keep supporting because they were documenting everything that we're doing. Of course, you know, because we're working on donations, and people see and they're like, "Hi, how can I help?" And we get every day there's volunteers, you know, showing up at my door like, "Do you need help like making bags? Like, do you need help like delivering things?" So I'm organizing on that sense, and we also are getting monetary donations that those are being exclusively to helping rebuild. As of right now, we have over $15,000 that being collected, and we're buying construction materials to rebuild a lot of the houses from the little towns that, especially those who live near the rivers, who their houses were completely destroyed. So we're buying like some construction materials for to help them start over. We bought like little stoves, just like things like dishes, like basic things that, you know, they got lost complete. Mattresses, we got in so many mattresses because like when I visit people, that's the first thing they ask for, like, you know, we don't have anything to sleep on because like now it's full of mud. So yeah, so that's the work that we've been doing. It's been very exciting to see, you know, like even if this is really a really bad time, people are showing up, and I'm seeing the best in the best of people. That's well, even from people that I don't know. Like I'm completely like blown away because like, you know, just some random person on Twitter like, hey, I want to help you out. Like I don't live here, I don't live there. I'm not Honduran myself, but like, you know, they show solidarity, and that means a lot to me. Like, yeah. So yeah.
How incredible. So
Yeah.
money-wise, you raised about $15,000.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of goods, do you have any idea how much you have kind of collected and donated so far?
Oh yeah, let me check. So
in terms of like bags of clothes or bags of food, I just want to have a sense of the scale.
Yeah, so we have donated, I mean, right now it's more, but on our last report, we have like 1,200 bags of food that were donated, and each bag of food, let me show you like a list of how.
1,200 bags of food.
Yeah.
This since like mid-November. When did you start this whole thing?
I started, yeah, like around mid-November. Okay. And like all those bags of food are, you know, they have beans, rice, soup, oil, like all, you know, your basic.
So Sophia, you can share your screen if you want to. Remember we talked about that. Yeah, I think you should be able to share your screen. There's also there's a comment in the chat from Elena Feldman who says, Sophia, the work you're doing is incredible. You are a hero. I'm wondering how you're reaching out to get access to the people who need these resources. Is it by word of mouth, or are you partnering with other local organizations, or maybe both?
So we're doing both, like I said before. I'm right now partnered with the Rotary International Club and as well with the Lions Club, and just kind of like, you know, or groups of people that form during this crisis that they want to help as well. And so we all are coming together. We have this group chat where because we're trying to like help smarter, you know, like what was happening at the beginning was that sometimes I'll go to a place and then that place was already visited by another group who delivered the same things. And like, yeah, that's good. Like it's needed, of course, but like we want to like best, you know, distribute everything to make sure that everyone's getting some help. So we all have this group chat in my hometown with all the organizations that are working and like all the organizers. And we usually get to these communities like we have someone in a community who help us out. I don't know. I feel like Honduras is so small because like maybe my friend knows someone there, and that's how it goes. Like it's gotten, yeah, that's how we've been getting like donations out so far. Like maybe I don't know them personally, but my friend knows someone who lives there, you know, and who can help us out, like organizing the people over there and like helping distribute and help us like, you know, get there and like go around. So we have been lucky in that sense that we have managed to get around easily so far. And people, you know, they've been extra kind, like they know you're helping, they offer, you know, like yeah, this person, you know, has this situation and it's this, and they, you know, help us in the community like navigate everything. So that's how we've been delivering the donation so far. So let me see if I can share. Okay, so is it working?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
it is.
This is my Twitter. This is where the magic has happened because thanks to thanks to Twitter, it's like where I've been able to get most of the donations. So when it first started, this is how I woke up in my home before the hurricane hit. This was before the hurricane.
Is that ETA or IOTA?
I'm sorry?
Was this it before ETA or IOTA?
That was before ETA.
Okay.
So this is how it looks like if you drive by the. So I was trying to like document. So the organization that I work with, like it's usually meant for education, but we decided like the school year in November goes to from February to November. So the kids are out right now. So we were like, oh, you know, all the donations that we were gonna get from now on are gonna be redirected to provide relief for those affected by Hurricane Eta. So I put that on Twitter. We use Bank One Cash App to collect that donations because it was easier in the States. This is how the beach looked, like literally like all the trash, you know, came back to us. This was like a way to like help those affected. It's in Spanish, but like, you know, we were like telling people like, oh, find your local shelter and like if you can donate food, personal hygiene products, water, clothing. Like the Red Cross was looking for volunteers, so we were kind of like connecting people who wanted to help to like the Red Cross as well. And you know, this was like the situations at the shelters. So this is like what I was like, you know, documenting everything. This is the beginning. I was like at least 559. Those numbers are like crazy now. Now right now it's over 3 million people affected. This was one death that day, and now I mean, thankfully, it wasn't the good. I mean, it's still a tragedy, of course, but like for the Mitch, for example, we have. You said, Professor, right, that it was like over 7,000 people. Like they say those numbers aren't even right. Like the numbers are even higher. So there was like a lot of the death toll was definitely higher. And for right now, Hurricane Eta and Iota, I think the death toll in Honduras at least doesn't go over 200. But it obviously like material damages are way bigger than the Mitch. I think it's estimated like around $5 billion in damages.
Yeah, I saw that number too, 5 billion. And Stephanie put here, thanks for that, Stephanie. Total population of Honduras is about 9.5 million people. And as I said earlier, 3 million people have been affected. So it's like a third of the population has been affected. So it's a huge. And Angela has a question here. Thank you, Angela. Sofia, if you think that from the EU, Italy, there may be a possibility to help even just by sensitizing people, sharing a social media post directly from you, please let me know.
Sure.
I will be happy to contribute in any way. That's so nice, Angela.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, because you know very well that maybe sometimes advertisement from Italy or from European Union, maybe they are misunderstood, sorry, and people sometimes don't believe or think that there is a distraction from these like sending money or something like this. So if I can help you in direct way, you know, even just sharing something or like spread information, so let me know, because I know very well what people think.
Definitely. I'll link the Instagram of the page that we're using to the chat. I don't find it right now when I'm sharing my screen, but once I'm done,
yeah, but we have here, Angela, earlier Daniela posted Sofia's Twitter handle and also her Instagram account. But what is so fascinating about all this, Sofia, so you're doing all of this, and you're a young woman who you don't even live in Honduras. I love that, your first instinct as a journalist was also to document what was happening and post on your social media. You're a reporter there. But like, how did you even learn how to do all that? And like, did you have a bank account already? Where were people sending the money? Like, how did you figure all this out?
So because we're using an already existing organization, we are using their bank accounts and just making sure that all this money that comes from this date to this date is going to be for this reason. So that we already had that set up. And then I just had to share it. I started sharing it on Twitter, and then my friends started boosting it as well. Like, I'm lucky that I have an amazing group of friends and like amazing circle that they just support me in everything that I do. So they started like boosting and telling their friends to like boost it. And that's how it started like getting like a lot of traction. Then like a lot of major pages like Refinery 29, like BBC shared it. All these like big media outlets, and I was getting interviews for them and like showing them, like everything that we were doing with our organization, like all the work that we were doing. So yeah, like it started getting even more traction. Than people were like, sending like random people. Like right now, I'm expecting to get like other 50 boxes from people that I don't know, that they just saw like the organization and news, and they were like, we want to donate. Like, can you give us our contact? Like, where can we send the things? And yeah, I'm picking them up this week. So that's. I don't know. I don't even know how they happen. Like, just one thing led to the other, and now we're here.
That's amazing. And you had mentioned in a class that you had been contacted by news organizations, including the BBC. So tell me, how did that go? Did you do an interview, and how did it go?
I can show you that, like the little, where is it?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Oh, so this is how the airport looks right now. Well, not right now, but how it looks.
Wow. This is your local airport.
This was my local airport, and now it's completely useless. So I think, yeah, this is it. So the BBC, they did like a little document on everything that was going on with Storm Eta, with Hurricane Eta, and this is like our part. When the storm was still happening, we tried to move around a little bit, trying to like get people to safe places as well, to like the shelters. It's obvious, like you can just stay doing nothing. Thankfully, there's been a lot of solidarity among Honduran people. Like there's a saying right now that says "El pueblo salva el pueblo," which means people save the people. So we're all showing up, like just as a family maybe, or as a group of friends. Like whenever I go to a shelter, I find, I don't know, maybe like 3 other groups who are already there as well, delivering other things. And we are not trying to like leave anyone behind. Like we're trying to do as much as I can to make sure everyone's cared for.
How great. You spoke so well. Did you provide them with these images too?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. Other people have questions? Please, guys, jump in. It's great that some of you have already put it in the chat, but well, here's another one from Elena. Have you thought about the future of this work? Great question. Staying in Honduras or working from New York remotely, perhaps becoming a nonprofit so you can apply for grants? Or I'm curious to hear how you imagine the future of this beautiful mutual aid network.
Yeah, so we actually have a nonprofit. My family has a nonprofit. It's a very tiny nonprofit that now it's getting a lot of traction. Like, so our nonprofit right now, I'm wearing like the uniform for it.
What's the name of the nonprofit?
It's named after my mom. It's called Fundación Lourdes Fugon.
Okay.
My mom passed last year, so we kind of like made this in memory of her. My mom was a teacher, and she dedicated her whole life to education. And she herself, she would do this thing where she would like sponsor a kid, in our neighborhood to like go to school. And so after she passed, we were like, oh, we want to continue her legacy. We want to keep it going, but kind of like a little bit more established, I guess. So my brothers and I, we started our nonprofit. Right now we have 5 kids, and we sponsor them. We give them their full tuition to high school. We give them internet. We give them a mentor, and basically all the tools that they need to have a successful school year. So that's our little nonprofit. I just established it in New York City and New York State, and we're established here in Honduras. But given the situation, I already had this platform. That's why we use a nonprofit, because we already had like the bank accounts and everything, right? So I was just like,
Oh, I see. Was everything through your mom's nonprofit? Your nonprofit.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So we were like, the school year is over right now in November. We have this crisis, like we have to do something. So I talked to my siblings. We were just like, no, and people are asking me like, what can they do? And I didn't know what to tell them because no one was organizing yet. So, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. Like, let's do it. It's an emergency. Like, it's not what we were like, we started a nonprofit for, but like still, our purpose is to serve. So let's just go ahead and do it. So that's what we did. And so, yeah, we're already a nonprofit, but now we're hoping, to grow and like make it bigger. I think we're still gonna continue. We're just doing this because of the situation that we're going through right now. But we're still gonna continue with the same purpose of kind of like a sponsorship kind of nonprofit. So yeah.
For education,
for education, correct. Yeah.
But what I think it's interesting, because for my class, you are doing a story that is about climate change and how climate change has impacted, the hurricanes are getting worse because of climate change. So I wonder if that research that I'm about to see still, how that story is coming, but I wonder if that reporting and researching has led you to just think more about climate change as maybe a field that you could work on or the organization could work on.
Yeah, I thought, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, right?
Right. Sorry, I thought you guys were just talking, so I stopped the screen sharing. Would you like to continue?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Do you want to share it again?
I wanted to make sure that, because I just thought about like, am I still sharing my screen? But thank you. Yeah, so I decided to do the climate change because it's obviously something very important to talk about. And especially right now, given the 2 hurricanes in Central America, it just made me think even more about it, because Central America is such a vulnerable region. We're a very poor region, and we're very prone to natural disasters, yet we are not the ones causing it. Most of the emissions come from developed countries, but we are the ones seeing the impact. And I was reading, during my research, I was reading about the Mitch when it hit Honduras, and like how this caused, major migration from Honduras to United States. And now, obviously there's been all these caravans before. So now I'm thinking like, wow, like we had this major disaster. People have literally lost everything. And we're gonna see major migration again, to the US. And then, well, a lot of the disaster, like I said, it got to the scale because deforestation, the rivers, like they don't have anything around. So like now they overflow and like they take entire towns like they did right now, because now there's no trees, to kind of like, I don't know, help, stop the water. And because of like the temperature rises, we're getting more hurricanes. Right now there's this was Eta and Iota. It was like a record hurricane season, 30, I think it was like the 30th named storm. That's a lot. And I'm scared that these things are gonna continue, like we're gonna see that the following year, like continuous hurricanes and back to back, right? And in a country that it's already so poor, it's scary. Like people are like, now when I talk to people, they literally say that like, now I don't have anything to lose. Like I lost everything already. So like the only thing that I have left is to migrate, because, you know, like to go back to where I was in this country, it's gonna take decades. And like I said before, like these families have maybe had a house that is being passed down by generations, you know, all the things that they had, like their, I don't know, their stuff, like that, the little things in their home, you know, it's not like something that they all bought themselves, and maybe like their mom, like their grandparents. So for them to like rebuild and get back to where they were, it's in this situation too, in this economy, like with COVID and everything, like it seems so hard. So everyone's just considering, you know, like there's nothing there like left for them here, and talking about like when things get a little bit better, to leave the country.
And of course, the migration situation is not great either, right? So many Central Americans have been stopped at the border, and so that's also very concerning.
Yeah, I think, especially Hondurans, like the caravans, they actually start in Honduras, and then we get people from El Salvador and people from Guatemala. But most of the people that are going those caravans are from Honduras. I think last year we got like almost like 250,000 people stop at the border, you know, that were like the migration stopped. 250,000 of Hondurans, like that's a lot. Like, and that those numbers are higher than, you know, I think they're over double the previous year, and those are the ones stopped. Like, what about those, you know, who didn't get caught, like they just passed? So it's a lot of people live in the country because they just don't see a future here.
Yeah. Those numbers are huge, as you're saying, yeah, compared to the population.
Yeah, and they are definitely gonna go up right now with everything that just happened. So
anybody else has questions, please jump in.
I have a question, actually. I'm since, you know, I'm here as Daniela and I are both political science people. And so of course I'm thinking, on the one hand, this is just so fabulous to see people in action, right? To see people mobilizing, and they said mutual aid and the like. But of course, there's a voice in my head which says, where's the government? You know, and so, you know, is this a situation in which, as you mentioned, this been the terrible problem of corruption? But I'm also wondering, do people just distrust the government? Is there a problem that even if the government were there, claiming they were going to help and claiming that it was and looking to the IDB or the World Bank or to other sources of foreign aid to bring aid in, that people would assume that the money would get stolen or that it wouldn't get to where it was going? So I'm just wondering, in terms of, you know, whatever you know about the electoral cycle, are there going to be elections soon? Is there a way for you as a voter to hold this government accountable? Do you see this mobilization of people to help one another, not just as, oh, we have to do it because we're in a crisis now, but think, wait a second, we really need a government that can be our partner rather than one that we have to replace because it's absent? So do people trust the government?
No,
nope.
They don't. Nobody trusts like, that's plain and simple. Nobody trusts the government. The government that we have right now, it's so we had elections in 2017. There were illegitimate elections. In Honduras, the constitution says that you only can run for presidency once. Our president is in his second term. So it's not legitimate. Beginning from that, you know, like obviously like people don't trust it. When that happened, I was actually in Honduras at the time during election season, and oh my God.
How did he get away with it?
Did he change the constitution?
He had the Supreme Court justices. He appointed them before, you know, so they're like, it all works in his favor. So he got like, and then Trump also, the thing that finished it up was that President Trump, he congratulated publicly. Like nobody was saying anything yet because they knew that it wasn't, you know, the right thing. But then President Trump was just like, congratulations to President Juan Orlando, you know, for winning the election, whatever. And then we were like, it's over. But it was crazy because like for elections, right, like the other guy was winning, and then power went out. Power went out, and then when it came back up, like a couple of hours later, suddenly the other guy was like, our president was winning. but everyone was just like, obviously, there's something iffy. And then that night, the results were not announced because like they were still counting votes. And then I think they took like a week, and during that week, it almost felt like a civil war because people, were fighting with the military. Like everyone was just like protesting and everything because they knew that he was gonna get himself elected, and he did. Like a week later, he announced his win, and it was crazy. Like during the first few days, like people, were going out to the streets protesting, but then things got really like, violent. People were getting killed, and then they kind of like slowed down. So since that, we had that beginning, like our second term already, that started off really bad. Then he hasn't done really much, to be honest. And then we had COVID, but I think the major thing was COVID. We got so much funding. The government of Honduras got so much funding for, fighting the COVID crisis. That money, we didn't see it. Nobody saw it. Like we were supposed to get hospitals, things, for people to get treated at the public hospitals. And we didn't, I think we still don't have the hospitals. Actually, people were, we had this major movement happen during the summertime that was called Donde está el dinero, which means where's the money? People were going to the streets. Like I think every city right now has like Donde está el dinero, graffiti in their major street, because like people were going out there just protesting and asking for where's the money. So that happened. We didn't get the money. So we didn't get anything. I'm sorry. Like the hospitals are like, if you went to the hospital, there was like nothing to get you treated. There were no beds or anything. So we're, nobody trusts the government with that. So right now with this crisis, that's the problem that we're having, because people don't trust the government. Like other countries, they don't want to like send the money to the government because they're not sure that money is gonna go where it's supposed to go. So a lot of mutual aid funds are being, boosted. Like people are trying to like donate to mutual aid because they know that the biggest impact comes from like people working locally. So yeah, like it's a problem. Like, and then the government right now for the situation, they announced like, oh, if you want to make donations, they were kind of like, because there were a lot of like local organizers working, they were stopping the local organizers and taking away their donations because you were not supposed to do that without the government's permission. And then they were saying like, oh, if you want to do that, you have to pay like a fee or whatever, or if you don't want to pay the fee, you have to give those things to the government, and the government's going to distribute it for you. So we had that happening at the beginning of the crisis, but obviously like we were like, oh, you cannot do that. Like, how are you gonna like put us all these things when? How are you gonna stop people from helping? If we went, like, why? Like, why are you gonna charge someone for helping? So that stopped because of like pressure from everyone. But yeah, like people prefer, like right now with these boxes too, like if you send them to an organization, you're not supposed to pay any fee, but like we will have to like give them those boxes, and they will have to inspect them first and like have them for a few days. But if I wanted them untouched, like people have to like send them as, pay extra. And people did that. Like they prefer to do that because that's how much they distrust the government.
Wow, that explains a lot, right? Stephanie, you're muted.
You mentioned something about the boxes, that people paid the tax on the box rather than have it inspected. And I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of in some ways an official kickback. In some ways, it's saying we're going to get the tax anyway. We'd much prefer to just give us the money, kind of thing. But yeah, it's exactly what as you were saying, I suspected as much, that there was a lack of trust in the government. If you'd allow me another question, I have a question about the press. So what is about the national press, because you spoke with the BBC. So I'm wondering, what's the press like in Honduras? Is there in some countries, there's a certain kind of collusion in the sense of if you want access to the government, you can't publish the bad news. But then other countries, places like Mexico, journalists they've been activist journalists who've risked their lives to expose the corruption of the government. So I'm wondering what your take is on the national press and the media in
The press
Honduras?
is very much controlled by the government. All the major newspapers in Honduras are not going to say anything bad about our president, or or maybe they're going to say something, but it's due to maybe an international medium is already publishing, and they have that pressure, but it's not because it comes out of them. So the press is very much controlled. I think there's just one guy, literally like one guy who goes on Facebook Live, and he goes and he speaks his mind, and he goes and throws the stones at the government, but he knows he's risking his life. Honduras is also one of I think worst places to be a journalist, to be honest, because people very much get killed, for speaking their mind or exposing things about the government or enterprises. So that's that's the situation. It's very much controlled by the government. I think we as Hondurans don't get to see as much as we should. It's not out there as it should be.
So social media is really important in that sense too. I mean, I'm seeing you leveraging it to get aid and to organize your friends and the like, but it's also important because you're providing information that would otherwise not necessarily get out.
Correct. Exactly. I think, and I started doing that as well because I wasn't seeing the press covering it. We were all talking about, el feriado monasónico and this, partying and whatever. And I was just like, why is no one talking about this? We need to talk about this is happening outside my house. And I literally recorded and this is happening. And then when I said about 500 people at the shelters, it wasn't a lot then, but for me, I was just like, oh my God, there's 500 people at the shelters. They need help, because I don't know, they need their basic things. Now, obviously, that has escalated to 3 million, and we need even more help. But nobody was talking about it, and that's when I started doing it myself. I go to college for this. Of course, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. But yeah, places like Twitter, I've been I'm very thankful for it because a lot of my news. I mean, it's now we have that fact check thing as well, which is great. But yeah, a lot of people, go out there and report on things that otherwise wouldn't be covered, maybe by major newspapers or press or the press. So yeah.
You are a one-woman band as a journalist and as a organizer. It's quite incredible. I'm just mindful of the time because it's almost 6 o'clock, and I know Sofia has piles of donations to deal with, plus schoolwork, right? Stephanie, you tell me, is it time to say goodbye?
we have time for one more. If there's one more comment or question, because I did sort of take the prerogative. I might have cut someone off. But if everyone's good, then we could close it up if you would like to. I feel you've both been so generous with your time. Thanks to everyone. Thank you so much, Gisele. Thank you to Sofia. Sofia, you are a hero. As you've been saying, Elena says, keep up the incredible work. We will be following you on your social media, and we're very so pleased and proud of you as a Baruch student, as a Baruch faculty member. I feel I could say that we're very proud of you. And feel that you really channeled the spirit of Baruch, which is to do good in the world, right? And so thank you so much, and caring about your community and keeping us informed. So we'll be in touch with you again soon to hear how you're doing. And thank you very much. And thank you, Gisele. It's just a pleasure to partner with you and with your Department of Journalism and the Writing Professions, and to all of the students in Gisele's class. It's wonderful to see you here. Thanks to my student, Angela. Thank you for coming. And thanks to everyone. Thank you, Daniela, for helping us organize. And I'll be signing off now. And if you are going to be taking finals, wishing you all the best of luck on your exams and the end of the semester, and wishing everyone a happy holiday season. Stay safe and stay healthy. And thank you for joining us here at ISLA. Thank you very much. Good night.
Gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Wonderful.
Oh, she's amazing, right? What a woman.